just going to briefly sum up what we talked about last week, which was phase 1 of the cosmic journey, which is, we call the spiritual high. And that is where you're just, you're realizing that there's more to life, and you're starting to become a seeker of knowledge. You're seeking answers to your questions, and to try and find out maybe why you're not feeling very happy. You know, like you feel like there's something missing in your life, so you start to question things. And it can also be the period where you receive what they call enlightenment. You get that aha realization that, you know, there's got to be more.
Yeah, there is more out there. And then with that thought, you continue to seek for what I would deem as deeper information, a deeper understanding.
Yeah, you begin to, as you seek knowledge and you become more aware, you're raising your energy vibration, you're feeling different, people are kind of seeing you maybe in a different way, and you have a desire to want to be in that energy, that high energy. So you're seeking other people, you're seeking events that you can go to be in that energy, and it's also a time when you might find that your ego starts to become a little defensive, because some of the things that maybe you used to agree to or follow along with suddenly might become a little offensive to you, because your belief system is being reframed. So your ego tends to get a little defensive during this time, and is on a high alert because it knows that there's some changes coming.
You become a little bit more sensitive to situations that occur around you. Maybe those jokes that you used to laugh to aren't as funny anymore. Things like that.
Yeah, as your awareness increases, you just find that life isn't the same as it used to be. It's also a time period, though, because you're going through a lot of personal experiences and changes, that the old narcissism is just a little bit elevated. You might spend a lot of time talking about yourself or sharing your experiences with others. So it's a beginning phase in the whole journey process, and it's a very necessary phase. It can take someone can take a long time to go through this phase. In the past, many people have been in that phase for years. Or you could find that, you know, within weeks or months you're out of that phase and into the next one, which is what we're going to kind of dive into today. And phase 2 of the cosmic journey we call cosmic awareness, conscious awareness. It's where you're starting to change your perceptions of how you see things and you see people. So as that growth occurs, you find that some of the people in your life maybe aren't as interesting as they used to be. That maybe some of the habits that they have might not interest you anymore. You might find them even offending. So your social circle tends to...
Well, the transverse works there too. I mean, they may not find you as interesting anymore.
That's true.
Because you don't mesh as you used to. Your mindset has changed, and you become less that victim in regards to the friends. You may find the people that you associated with were locked in that victim mentality, and you as being enlightened further or more, have a greater consciousness, aren't in that victim state as much or at all, and therefore you have not the appeal to the people that you used to associate with and share that victim mentality.
And that also includes the workplace, because as you find yourself as less of a victim, you find that you want to pull away from the drama. So maybe some of the old work associates that used to come to you with their drama stories, you might suddenly find can be a hindrance to your focus, or how you perform at work.
Not be involved with the parking lot chatter or even the water cooler talk, however you want to deem it.
Yeah, or you might just seek out different people in your environments that maybe tend to share some of your new awareness and even beliefs. So that can be a major change in your life as your social circle really narrows, and it can be a time of loneliness, and you might feel somewhat isolated. So you're also, during phase 2, wanting to seek people with similar energies, although it becomes a little bit tougher to find people that are in the same energy as you, because most of the events are kind of, the group events are focused kind of on receiving still that spiritual high. A lot of the events that there's a lot of meetups that are forming all over the world, and we ourselves conduct a meetup. It's called Awakening Your Inner Self, and we kind of cater our meetup to people in the phase 2 or even greater. We tend to not put our focus on that spiritual high in our teachings and in our when we counsel people. It's more directed towards getting out of that spiritual high and transitioning into becoming aware of your actions and your behaviors.
Well, it's those that have already experienced that spiritual high and have done something with the experience and have also stepped out of the victim mentality. They're no longer a victim in regards to the perception of how they see themselves.
And part of that is just becoming more aware of the self-talk that goes on inside your mind. When you're a victim, the chatter can just be endless. The ego reminding you that, oh, they did this to you, and you need to be fearful of this, and ego chatter can just be mind-numbing at times, and it keeps you in a state of fear and can really prevent you from growing and experiencing yourself, your true self, your inner self.
Well, that ego can be real harsh if you let it. I mean, you have the power to push it aside, yes, and it's that understanding that you do have that power to push it aside that is going to allow you to become, shall I say, more awakened.
Yeah, as you start a practice of not letting the ego rule, which is kind of the way we've been taught we've been taught to live in fear, and so the ego is kind of taken over. And as you become more conscious of what's going on inside your head, the ego is still going to be very fearful, because it realizes that there's changes going on and it is being asked to step aside sometimes. So it often is very defensive during this phase too. But as you practice controlling it and just simply
making it subordinate.
Right, when those thoughts come into your mind, just I recognize, ego, that you're concerned about this, and I'm honoring your concern, I'm considering your concern, but at the same time, I'm also very willing to look at the possibility ahead of me. That I will consider your concerns, but there is a good opportunity ahead of me, and if I feel in my soul, my intuition feels like this is something that I should do, then I want to act on that. So I'm going to ask you, ego, if you'll just kind of step aside and let me consider this for a while. And then you can put the focus on how you feel. And that can kind of go into, so there's kind of a battle between the ego and your soul. Because as you become more intuitive, you want to act on the desires of your soul and bring out your authentic self. So the ego feels very threatened. And so you almost learn to balance yourself and your ego during this phase. it's probably still a challenge. I mean, it's not going to be something that you can just wake up one morning and have your ego, you know, be 40% subordinate versus where it may have been 90% in control.
Charge, yeah.
So it's something that you have to be conscious of. It's something that you have to practice, and it's a constant thing. You have to control what thoughts you allow in your mind. So your ego is going to be feeling very threatened during this period.
Hurt.
Hurt, but the thing about the ego is the ego's been given a bad rap for a lot of years. In traditional psychology, they kind of let the ego go, you know. There wasn't, back in the Freudian days, they talked a lot about the ego. But then as psychology changed, the ego kind of got left alone for a while. But now that New Thought and spiritual teachers are coming forward, the ego's it's back in the news. I mean, it's a subject again that people are starting to talk about, and so it does feel threatened. And the goal is not to, a lot of people, you know, especially if you're a spiritual warrior, you need to kill the ego. No, that's not the goal, because you do need the ego. The ego does provide a lot of instinctual things that you need to be concerned about for survival of yourself.
It's part of our
others.
personality makeup, too.
Yeah, so the goal is not to kill the ego. The goal is just to get it to where it is subordinate, where it's not 90% in charge, it's maybe 45%, or it's less. As you grow, you will find that ego will really take a subordinate role. But like I said, it's not something that you can do overnight. It takes practice.
And a lot of time.
It takes a lot of conscious awareness. So it's a big part of phase 2, well, where you're working on that. And
you're always in training.
yeah, we call ourselves continual masters in training, because as we learn more knowledge, and it's one thing to have it in your head, but it's another to put it into practice. So controlling what goes on in your mind is something that you have to be conscious of almost constantly.
Yes.
So unless you found a way just to tune that out, and a lot of times that through meditation you can quiet your mind and tune things out, so you can kind of hear that inner voice. So as you continue on in your growth, you're seeking knowledge, and you're also recognizing that maybe your environment looks a little bit different. You're starting to see things maybe that weren't there before. Just nature all of a sudden might look different to you. I know when we went through this phase, it's like the flowers suddenly became vibrant, and we found beauty in everything. We lived in the desert at the time, and you know, the desert decor can be very dull and neutral looking, but all of a sudden we found that the desert was blooming with color. And
no, it has its own beauty, though. I mean, it's just like being in the forest. Forest has its beauty, the desert has its own beauty. We got to a point where we started seeing rock figures. I mean, if you go to our website, you know, well, it's not the website, it's
actually on our MySpace account.
MySpace, yeah. You know, but
yeah, we started seeing faces in rocks. I mean, it was amazing that things that we looked at, all of a sudden, faces appeared to us, and we realized that not only was there a face there, but that rock was alive. That was a living thing. We think of a rock as just being this piece of ground, but I mean, they actually started becoming alive to us in our perceptions.
Well, now that the people think we're going off the deep end here,
oh, there's a lot.
it all comes with awareness. You know, I may jest a lot, but you know, the point I'm making is, as you become more aware, have a greater awareness of your surroundings, of your environment, you will see a lot more within it than the average individual may, that is just hasn't found their awareness yet.